What is going on, YouTubers, and welcome to ESGNet presents the Sports Gaming Podcast, or I should say the Sports Gamers Soapbox Talk Podcast. This is episode 13. Welcome. I apologize to you guys. When I'm recording this right now, it is the 27th of July. It is Wednesday afternoon. I was supposed to have this up on, last Saturday, and then I posted something on Facebook and Twitter saying that we was not going to have an episode until I believe it was not until Tuesday, and then like I said, I was going to post it on Tuesday, but been busy, so it's try to come up here on I don't know, either Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. So bear with me. I apologize. We're going to talk about things that happened last week here. We got a little bit of news that, combined last week into to the last couple of days here, or the last couple of hours. So we'll go ahead and get into it right now. This week on the show, we got Roger Goodell says, no TV for you, NFL stars. Yes, no TV time for you. Do not want you on any television shows. We'll explain that here in just a bit. Also, the NFL Player Association wants to take a case to the Supreme Court. Seriously? Like, what type of case? We'll talk about that. Also, dealing with NFL still. We got Roger Kraft getting a little pissy about a ruling. Yes, he's a little pissy. He's a little pissy about the NFL, about a ruling that was made here this past week in a relating story. Also, more trouble in Rio. Seriously? Okay, what else? Okay, you got the Zika virus. You got a crime wave happening. You got unsanitized water. Oh, Lord, what else could happen down there? We'll talk about that here in just a bit. And also, we got some news and notes here within the world of sports here coming up. So, let's get the show kicked off here. First off, let's get to some really sad news. Let's get to some news about two players that here recently in college sports. We recently lost punters Sam Foltz of Nebraska Cornhuskers and Mike Sadler of Michigan State. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family as we learned this past Saturday that the two were involved in a car wreck. Not much has been known. It's still being investigated, even here in the list. It's been several days now. But we do know that they were involved in a car accident. The two young men were very idolized by so many people and so many individuals there at Michigan State and Nebraska. They were loved very, very well. They were, there was not a bad thing said about them. There's an article there in the comment section you guys can link to and check it out. But it's just a sad story about these two young men who pretty much had a lot of potential, a lot of promise for themselves, being punters in the collegiate level, and I believe both were going to be seen by NFL scouts. It happened in a small town in Wisconsin, rural Wisconsin, at a camp that they were a part of, and yeah, it's a sad story. I was reading about it, and a friend of mine who's a Nebraska Cornhuskers fan, he was telling me about this story, and I kept thinking, I'm like, that name sounds really familiar. Sam Foltz, and yeah, he is he's probably one of the best punters there in collegiate, especially in the Big Ten. And it's just so sad to hear news about that happening to guys like that, or just do so much for the community. They do a lot of community service and stuff like that. And I think when you hear stories about that, about guys that die, or people just in general that die that young and do so much good for their community and just for the world in general, it really upsets me. hear something about that. And hopefully, it's not. Hopefully, when they do investigate and find out the reason why it happened, hopefully it won't be something in a negative light. But yeah, our thoughts and prayers go out to both of the families there. And I know both communities, both the Michigan State and Nebraska, had memorials. Like I said, there's a link to the story about that, about both individuals and what they've done there, and on both the campuses there. I believe they're both. I think a lot of just like the pros right now are in training camp right now, and it's just they have a heavy heart right now for both of those two schools right now for losing such great young men. So, but again, our thoughts and prayers here at ESGNet is to the family there, and we wish the family the best, and hopefully just get through this tough time. In unrelated news, there was another accident that happened. It happened with the Dallas Cowboys over the weekend also. Dallas Cowboys bus got in trouble. There's a link down below. It was a fatal crash with their bus. Now, there was only a couple of front office people in this bus. It was a bus that the Cowboys used to travel when they're during the season. A couple of front office people. Nobody. It's sad when you lose. Anyone loses someone, but no players were on there, or no GM or anything like that on there. A couple people did lose their lives in that accident there, and there's a link down there below. You guys can read more about the story there. And our thoughts and prayers go out to that. They're the loved ones that lost someone in that crash. The unknown how that crash happened, but I'm sure that it's being investigated right now, and we'll see how that goes on here. We'll move on here, and we'll get to some more NFL news, and some good news here. Foster, former Texan halfback there, he has signed a 1-year contract with the Miami Dolphins. He'll be playing with the Dolphins next season. This is according to Pro Football Talk there on NBCSports.com. It's unsaid with the amount of cash he will be getting, but he will have a 1-year contract with them. Foster, as you know, the last couple of seasons here, he's had some pretty decent numbers. Former Tennessee Volunteer, and he will be in Miami this year. So Miami has a halfback. I believe Miami's got quite a bit in their their cap space this year. So they're a team that a lot of people are saying that they could be doing some pretty good things down there when it comes to building their team up for this season. So that's something we have to look into. Let's go ahead and get into some other news and some more news and notes here before we get to some of our soapbox topics here this week. But there's an article there from Forbes.com. Forbes just recently released a top, I think it's like a top 50 list of most valuable franchises in sports. And in that top 5, there's only two American sports teams on that list. One is baseball and one is the NFL. But first we'll go with number 5, Manchester United, from the Premier League there in soccer. One of the biggest franchises there in soccer. If you think, at least for me, when I think of soccer, I think this is one of the first teams I think of is Manchester United. Estimated to be $3.32 billion. That's a B, billion dollars in their franchise. Number 4, the New York Yankees, of course, Major League Baseball, well known here in the United States. Cornerstone of Major League Baseball, $3.4 billion. Again, that's a B, billion. And they're number 4 on that list. FC Barcelona, 3.55 million, or billion, I should say, not million, billion. They're at number 3. Of course, they're soccer. At number 2, Real Madrid, another well-known soccer team. Very iconic name. Really, actually, all the 3 that I've named now so far are pretty iconic soccer teams. And Real Madrid is estimated at $3.65 million for their franchise. And last but not least, at number 1, it is the Dallas Cowboys, estimated at $4 billion in total revenue as a franchise. So, of course, Jerry laying down there in Texas. I think I mentioned this in a video before, but I've been down there when the year they opened it up. It was actually just about a month before they opened. I was down there and I seen Jerry World, and it's a beautiful stadium. But in some ways I wasn't really impressed with some of the. I mean, I thought the scoreboard was amazing. It was a beautiful scoreboard. We actually got to sit up in the boxes. We actually got to sit in Jerry Jones's box. So that was really cool to see. I got to sit there. I was sitting there for like 20 minutes trying to take it in. And a lot of the kids were like, Shad, are you ready to go? I'm like, no, I got to soak this in. I got to, because this will be the only one and only time I'll ever be in a owner's box or any kind of suite like this. So I drink it in. I drunk it in. So as Chris Jericho would say, drink it in, man. So yeah, those are your top 5 most valuable franchises. And again, Forbes.com. There's a link down below in the description there. You guys can check that out and see how that goes. All right, now we're going to go back into the NFL here, and we're going to talk about no other than Mr. Tom Brady. And this is some good news for me because I love this. I knew this was going to be the deal that's going to happen, and I've kind of figured. I'm like, oh yeah, he's going to sit out, and he'll sit out eventually. It probably won't be this season, but maybe the next. But according to some sources, and this one sources I'm using is ESPN, they say that Tom Brady will sit out the first 4 weeks here of the NFL season. Now, this is going on as he appealed. Of course, he appealed it, and then it was told in lower courts that they had to sort it out. And Tom Brady decides, you know what? I'm not going to fight anymore. If that's what I have to do, then that's what I'm going to do. So the first 4 games he'll have to sit out. Now, the NFL Players Association says, no, we're going to keep fighting this. This is, a bunch of malarkey. We believe, we're going to protect our player. And so they're going to try. There's rumors saying that well, it actually wasn't rumors. It was actually a real deal. They were going to take the case to the Supreme Court. And Tom Brady says no. He told no. He told both the Player Association and the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, saying that quote, in layman's terms, he was done. He was done fighting this, and he was just going to go ahead and take the punishment that was given by the NFL. Now, honestly, seriously, do we have to wait a whole year for Tom Brady to, say, yeah, okay. Technically he has not admitted to it, but it took him a whole year just to say, I'm just going to go ahead and take the 4 games and move on. That is, to me, is so ridiculous. Why do we have to wait this long for him to make that? Okay, whatever. You should fight. I believe you should fight in what you believe in, and if you believe you're not guilty, you should fight for it. But we all know, Tom, you're guilty. You purposely had your phone destroyed that had the text messages between you and these equipment manager. about the footballs. Here we are, we're debating about a deflated football. What the hell? Like, seriously? Like, and then at that, the Players Association, you want to waste time and not to mention a lot of money taking this court battle about a deflated freaking football to the Supreme Court. You realize the Supreme Court has other issues that are a hell of a lot important than a damn deflated football. Seriously, come on now. Like I said, there's an article down below. The link down, or you guys can go check it out, read more about it, and what I can't remember the first 4 games. But the first 4 games, I think the only team they have to worry about are the Cardinals. I think they have them in like week 3 or something. But it's not going to hurt them to have him off the field for 4 games. 4 games. It's not like you guys have a tough schedule or you have a tough division to worry about, with the exception of maybe, maybe the Jets are this year, or maybe the Bills, or maybe, actually, I say the team they have to worry about is probably the Dolphins. I mentioned earlier that they have a pretty good team here coming up next season. So that'd be the only team they would have to worry about. Other than that, they have the road for them going to playoffs is a clear path for them. I just don't get it. Like, why are we still talking about this? And this happened two seasons ago. It's like, this is just bizarre. But I guess Tom Brady wants to still be in the news and whatever. But okay. There's also a link down below. You guys can check it out. To Robert Kraft. Oh, jeez. He is so upset about Tom Brady having to miss 4 games. I'm like, seriously, 4 games? You're upset if he missed 4 games? Seriously? Okay, Kraft, you're so worried about it. You go out there, you take your old ass out there, put some pads on and go out there and do it yourself. You guys are not gonna have him for 4 games. Not to mention, it doesn't have to be 4 consecutive games. They can spread that out as long as he does not play 4 games out. There's 16 games of a season. He has to miss 4 of them. You can spread them out. They all don't have to be all at once. I just don't understand this. And then you got people getting upset about it, and they're in New England and whatnot. I'm just like, this blows my mind. Like, people are out there when this all was going down, when this all started, there's people out there protesting, no justice, no peace, Tom Brady, come on. We're talking about him cheating. Is he the only one doing this? No. I'm sure there's guys that are doing this. There's quarterbacks doing all kinds of stuff. There's teams doing stuff in general to get the edge when it comes to this football. And remember, it is a game, people. It's a game. Yes, it is a business, but first and foremost, it is a game. And you're going to do anything and everything to get the edge over your opponent. And if you get caught, well, you got caught. You got bad. You sucked that day from getting caught. That's all I have to say about that. So, excuse me. But yeah, there's a article about that. You guys can read more about that, about the suspension coming up, and the 4 games that, if you miss the first 4 games, they have a list there of the first 4 games he'll end up missing for the season. Keep rolling on here in NFL news. It just keeps even crazier. There's a link there from the sportingnews.com and a really interesting article I was reading about. I don't know. I have not seen this show yet. It is on my list of shows that I do want to watch. And there's a couple box sets that are there. I think the first season is out already. I think I have it on a list of TV shows I'm going to watch from my local library. But it's called it's a HBO original series. It's called Ballers. It starred The Rock, Mr. Dwayne Johnson. He plays as a former, I think he's a former NFL player turned agent who, trying to get used to being an agent and how to market his the players that he is supervising over and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a very graphic depiction of what goes on in sports in general. But the story I'm going to be talking about is about Roger Goodell. Roger Goodell says he does not want any players in the NFL to show up on this show. And the reason why is he does not like the depiction the show makes of NFL players. Of course, the show it's TVMA, so they're going to be showing some graphic, images and stuff like that. And to me, honestly, I don't understand why you wouldn't want this. Yes, this is to me, it's a free promotion for the NFL. And not to mention, even if you used a fake league, you got other shows that use a fake league or use a semi-pro league or something like that. But if you think about it, okay, it's about the NFL. It's not officially, you can't use the name NFL or anything like that. But I understand that from that standpoint. But at the same time, this show, I've only seen a couple of episodes. I haven't seen the whole series. But this show is really good. It's really well written. The issues they cover in this story are real issues. And it's no issues that we have not heard of at all. From everything from adultery to having a dozen kids, like with Cromartie. I think Cromartie has he has over 20 over he has over a dozen kids or something like that, and whatnot. He all this child support he has to pay and so on and so forth. But this show is actually a really good show because it exposes the NFL and how players act. Now, I'm not saying all players will act like this, but there's we all know, come on now, let's be a little dull about this. We all know what some of these NFL players do on their off time. Getting in trouble, see how far they can get away with a lot of stuff. And I think this is a great portrayal of what goes on, not just in the NFL, but what happens in sports in general. From a personal note, I know that I've actually heard some stories, and this is locker room gossip, of course, so just take it with a grain of salt. But when I was in school, there was a professor that I had who was around that kind of stuff, around players, NFL players, also mostly around baseball. He was in part of baseball organizations like the Cincinnati Reds, the Boston Red Sox. I want to say the Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels at one point. Royals, of course. And I can't think. There was another ball club he was with. But he was well known. He's a pretty decent, semi well known guy who'd been around, sports for quite a years. Let's put it this way: this man, he was there for the first Super Bowl I, and he was telling us stories about some players that they were actual stories, that these were true stories that happened because he seen this stuff actually happen in locker rooms. How guys were talking about, one guy had and I'm not going to give out names of who these players were, but there was a certain player. He was a former Royal. He was also a former Red Sox and also a former Yankees player who had his fiance at the game at the same time that he had his mistress not far away from the fiance at the game, and they were actually sitting I believe they were sitting in the same section, not in the same row, but he was waving at him, blew a kiss and waved at him and stuff, and both women thought that was for them. Now I don't know, and he told us that he never knew if the women knew each other or not, but that kind of stuff going on, guys cheating on their wives, on the road with another woman. guys having having children outside of their if they're married, having children outside of their unwed child out of wedlock or something like that. Drugs, you got players being addicted to painkillers or being addicted nowadays with steroids and stuff like that. And I think a show like this that exposes that, I think this is good conversation because this is not just a issue that happens in professional sports. This happens on the amateur level. This happens in college. From my personal standpoint, and this is I haven't been around too many pro athletes. I don't know pro athletes by personally, but I know quite a few college athletes going to school myself, and I being I played junior college baseball. But even on that level, I knew a lot of guys that were doing some stuff that they shouldn't have been doing, and that affected them of how they act off the field affected how they played on the field. And the two are, and what you do off the field affects you on what you do on the court, and what you do on the court affects you how you are as a person off the court. And I think this show does a great job of showing that. I guess exposing that. I guess exposed means, in some ways, I guess that has a bad connotation to it. But just the idea of the show like this putting out and this actually happens. This is real. These are people dealing with real issues, and actually showing that athletes are are people just like everyone else that makes mistakes, have faults of their own. They're not full. They have flaws to them. They're not flawless. Is a great idea. Now, is this a way to promote NFL? No, not the best light, but it does should give him an idea that these things are going on, and there may be some issues that that there may need to be talked about how to conduct themselves off the field. Now, don't get me wrong, what they do off the field, that is their business. That's not. But at the same time, remember, you are a part of an elite club, elite fraternity, and that's how. And you guys should be respectful to that. If you want to be in the NFL, if this was your dream to be in there, well then respect that. Now, don't get me wrong. There's so many other stories about past players doing stuff that we never heard about because of, this is an age of social media, and everyone has a phone, has some kind of camera on them or whatever on their phone or whatnot, and we live in an age like this. But at the same time, you're in a unique class of people. You're considered the best of the best. You play on this high level. And you got to have respect for it. You got to have, because there's so many other people, and I've said this so many other times on so many other episodes here, that you got to take responsibility of this. You got to hold on to this opportunity, because this is an opportunity that you'll never get again. If you do get it again, you're on borrowed time. And I like I said, I think in the case of Roger Goodell, I think he's overstepping his bounds here, because a lot of these players are doing just these simple cameos, coming in just for 2 or 3 minutes, saying a line or something, and they're leaving. They're not even part of the actual storyline of what's going on in the show. So yeah, I think talking about this kind of stuff, this shows that they're human beings like us. They make mistakes. The mistakes they make, there are consequences to those mistakes, and the decisions, or not necessarily mistakes, but the decisions they make. And I think this show, I can't wait to watch it. Hopefully, I can get the box set here soon, because I got it from I ordered from the local library here, which does a great job of having a lot of these newer shows that are on TV that have box sets now. It does a great job. If I could afford HBO Go or something like that, I would, but I can't afford that. So, but I'm looking forward to it. And for Goodell, I mean, I understand you got a shield to protect, and you got a brand that you need to protect. But at the same time, I mean, this is something I think fans will probably have a more idea of what these guys go through, and may have show a little bit more sympathy for them, and also hold them to accountability of being responsible and being. I mean, you may not see yourself as a role model, but again, I think I said this in just last week even, or the week before. You're in a position that you're in a role that you're in a unique position that a lot of people envy you because you're in that position, and you have to treat that, regardless if you don't want to be a role model or not. You're a role model. Kids are going to be looking up to you because of what you do. When you play you play a game, you play a sport for a living. So yeah, I thought when I read that article, I'm thinking like Goodell. I mean, I see some points of his that he's making, but at the same time, I think he's overstepping his bounds, and I think these cameos are just quick little cameos. They're not something that's gonna really. I don't think the producers of this show would put these guys in a position that would be putting their personal information out there about their personal lives and stuff like that. I think it's just funny caricatures and satires of situations that maybe they've been in before, but they're just overhyped or just blown out, kind of blown out proportions like that, and they don't take it seriously. But at the same time, you back your mind like, okay, maybe this is a situation that he maybe knew someone that was in, or maybe it's something like that, because you got all kinds of crazy things that people have done, and athletes. Like I said, playing sports myself, growing up in high school and eventually in college, and I've been around some crazy individuals that did some crazy stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way in hell this person can go in the NFL. There's no way in hell this person can be playing even semi-pro ball. And some of them did, some of them didn't. But it's it just comes with the territory. And there's like I said, there's been some crazy. I mean, look, think of all the things we've had happen here in the NFL that have been off the field. And it's just like, wow, like seriously, like I'm not surprised. So yeah, but that is it for NFL news. And so far here now, we'll go on and we'll get to NFL. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and get into some pro wrestling and some MMA news. Recently here, we just had the Battlegrounds pay-per-view. I'm not going to get into that until Saturday's episode, so stay tuned for that. I'll have that. That was actually it was Sunday, but that's coming up for this upcoming episode, which would be a regular episode on Saturday night. So I'll talk about that Saturday night on that episode 14. Battlegrounds. It was a good pay-per-view. I thought it was a decent pay-per-view. I enjoyed it. I give it 7 out of 10. Rated 7 out of 10. There's some areas in the pay-per-view that could have been better, but for the most part, it was enjoyable. We'll also talk about Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown Live now. First, this is the second live episode of SmackDown. We'll talk about that on Saturday. But anyway, we'll get into pro news. We'll get into some pro wrestling. This past week, we did have the first episode of SmackDown Live. We've seen the draft. I thought the draft was pretty reasonable. I thought it was decent. I really want to talk about what happened last night on SmackDown, but I don't want to talk about it just yet. I want to talk about it on Saturday night, so I'll talk about it because there was actually some pretty good surprises there. I will say, Teddy Long was on a podcast. I can't remember whose podcast he was on, but he was recently on the podcast. He was talking about potentially there's two. Well, there's 3 superstars that are going to make a return back into the WWE. And then I just found out there was actually a 4th one coming back. But I know the 2 for sure that are coming back. One of them is Rhino. As you know, he was he was down there in Florida, part of the NXT, down there working with those young guys. Now he's been called up to the main roster once again, so he'll be back on WWE TV. Part of I don't know what show he's going to be on. He wasn't drafted. I know there's some undrafted stuff they were doing on WWE.com. They were just they're on the net wall. It's all on the network there. They had a little special there after the SmackDown Live taping or live event there. But I believe, Rhino's going to come back. Also, Kurt Hawkins, he's back. So we could possibly see maybe him and Zack Ryder teaming up again, maybe in the near future. I know Ryder's working with Mojo Rawley, who got drafted in the NXT draft, or in the WWE draft. There were 6 NXT superstars that got drafted. Finn Balor, Nia Jax are both going to Monday Night Raw. We got Alexis Bliss, Mojo Rawley. You got the team of America Alpha. I'll say there was one more, I think. I can't think of who the other one was off the top of my head, but they've all been drafted as a SmackDown Live. So you'll see them on there. What else happened? Overall, I think the draft was pretty successful. I enjoyed it. If you've seen, Raw got 3 draft picks because they're a 3-hour show. SmackDown got 2 draft picks. For right now, I think right now the titles right now, if you watch the Battlegrounds pay-per-view, we'll talk about that. Whatever happens at Battlegrounds, whatever superstar represents whatever show, those titles will be on those shows. I don't know what they're going to do with the women's title yet. I don't know if that's going to be a title that's going to go back and forth between the shows and between the brands, along with the tag team titles. I would think they would do that, and that's honestly in my type of draft. I was going to do a draft special, and I decided not to do it. But in my idea for a draft, I would have that. I would have those 2 titles be interpromotional titles, because you just brought out the women's title. It's a beautiful title. They need to be called the women's division, not the Divas division. Put a little more respect on that for them, what they do, especially these group of women that are wrestling now. But yeah, those 2 titles need to be going back and forth. I don't want to see 2 separate tag teams in the WWE, because right now the New Day officially have gone over 321 days, held by Brian Kendrick and Paul London as the longest WWE Tag Team Champion. So the New Day, congratulations to them. But that, like I said, that's a title that I want to see to go back and forth between the 2 brands. Hopefully that will be the case. I don't know if that's what they're going to do or not. There is rumors saying that WWE is going to bring a new title back, or bring a new title. Bring a new title back. They're going to have a new title, and we'll talk about that on Saturday. I just recently watched Monday Night Raw, and it's pretty unique how they're going to have this title come up. Not to mention they're bringing back the Cruiserweight division. I don't know if they're bringing back the Cruiserweight title, which would be nice if they did, but I know they're bringing back the Cruiserweight division, so that's going to be exclusively on Raw. And I'll talk more about that on Saturday. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool. I thought so far, by the looks of it, it's really, really cool. They have new logos for both shows. I don't know. I don't know, the new logos for both shows for Raw and SmackDown Live. Look, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't look right. The new theme song, the new intro for the shows are pretty different. Got to get used to them. They're different. They're more. I like the the intro part. The video part of it. The songs. I think they could have picked a better choice of songs to represent those two shows. I'll try to leave a link down below for those. I'll try to find YouTube links to those. They're both. I mean, I don't know. You guys decide if you guys like them or not. But matter of fact, I'll put a poll question up here on this video to see if you guys decide which ones if you guys think they're great or not. Me personally, I think they could have picked some better songs out, but I don't know. That's just me, I guess. But yeah, I think the draft was really good. And honestly, I think that having now NXT now part of it, you got some guys that have been getting called up here. I just wish that other NXT superstars would get called up, guys like Austin Aries and Samoa Joe. But of course, I know that they're having narrowed down there because they're going to use those guys to be a good foothold to get the next one or two guys or one or two ladies down there. Oh, Carmella. That's who it is. Carmella got called up. She's part of the SmackDown roster as Enzo and Cass are now on Raw. So yeah, they're both on the main rosters now, but on separate shows. So Carmella, I knew I was gonna think of her. I was like, it was another diva that got called up. I couldn't, because Alexis Bliss got called up there, and Mojo Rawley, and the American Alpha. So, but yeah, I thought it was good. It was a good draft. And like I said, I wish Samoa Joe and Austin Aries would get called up, and eventually they will. But for right now, they're going to utilize those guys down in NXT for the time being. I know a lot of people have been really upset with the WWE. I've been at least online, and just take that with a grain of salt because there's some hardcore wrestling fans out there online. They just spew out some stuff. But a lot of people have been saying that Bobby Roode needs to be on TV, and I've been kind of wondering myself, thinking that I'm like, where is he at? We've seen Eric Young, but we haven't seen much of Bobby Roode. I know he's been doing some when they've been overseas or over in Europe and stuff like that. He's been part of their European tour, but they have not seen him in action here in the States or on television, and hopefully we'll see him be a part of that. I'm assuming that maybe that's part of who's going to be who Samoa Joe's going to be dealing with here for that NXT championship. But it's I honestly, when I seen American Alphas getting called up, I really thought maybe that NXT, that they were going to bring up the Revival. And had that feud continue now on the main roster, but the Revival they did not get called up, and I mean they are the current NXT champions, the first ever two-time NXT champions, tag team champions. But yeah, well, I'm hoping we'll see them here soon because they are definitely one of my favorite tag teams right now. That's the old school tag team wrestling I like. The guys that cut off the ring and are just bulldogs. Just don't let anybody come in for a tag or anything. They're just that tag team that classic, tag team. They seen in the late '80s, early '90s. So glad to see that come back in tag team wrestling, just cutting off the ring and just really working on a guy and whatnot. So, but that is it for pro wrestling news. Then we'll go into some. My last thing we're going to talk about here before we wrap up the show, because we're getting close here. We got about another 15 minutes or so. But what I want to talk about here today, it's again one of my things. This is the thing I hate the most when I talk about pro sports, and that is PEDs. And we learned over the last couple of days here that Brock Lesnar has been kind caught with PEDs. He recently just failed not one but two tests. He failed a test, a drug test there just a couple days before the. He took the test just a few days before the UFC 200 fight that he had with Matt Hunt. And then the night of the fight, he took another test, and then a couple days, of course, we learned a couple days later the test was ran, and found out that he failed that one. Well, everyone now is saying, okay, so what are we going to do about this? What is going to be the punishment for Brock Lesnar and him getting caught by the United States Doping Agency? Well, you want to know what the answer is? A lot of you probably already know already. They're not going to do anything. He is not going to be fined. He is not going to be he's not going to be, for right now, at least we know, he will not nothing will happen to him. I don't think he may not even be suspended at all. But he will, by the looks of it, he will be a part of SummerSlam. Of course, he's been facing Randy Orton there in WWE, and we don't know what WWE is going to do about it. But we did learn that he used the same kind of PED that John Bones Jones used just a couple months ago. Now, if you guys remember, Brock Lesnar was one of the first individuals that were speaking out about that and saying how Bones Jones was no good. He was a disgrace to the sport. How dare he uses that in the sport and all this other stuff. Well, okay, now Brock, here you are in the same position, using the same substance that he used, and of course, has Brock said anything about this publicly? Not a damn thing. So, and I just kind of when I think about this, I'm like, really? Like, you're supposed to be this Johnny Badass. You're supposed to be like the Beast, the mayor of Suplex City, and you're using PEDs? What makes you not think, and this is what gets me thinking now, WWE, why have we heard anything about him failing a test with you guys? I mean, I know it's been a while since we've seen him in the ring, but you just now recently just lifted the suspension of Roman Reigns, who admitted when he found out when they came out on the test saying that he got in trouble for PEDs, he came out and been a man and came out and said, yeah, yes, it's my fault, yes, I did that, and I'm willing to take responsibility. He had to sit out for 30 days. Lucky enough, he came back in time for the recent pay-per-view we just had, Battleground. Why is UFC and why is the WWE not doing anything about this? UFC for right now, they have not said he's not going to be fined. We learned that he's not going to be fined. He potentially may not be even suspended. WWE has not made a remark about anything about this yet. Even though if they suspend him now, saying that Brock Lesnar will be suspended for 30 days, he will be back in time for the pay-per-view for SummerSlam. Of course, Paul Heyman hasn't said anything yet and publicly yet. The only person in the WWE has made any kind of public acknowledgement about this is only one person, and that person is Randy Orton. I'll talk about this again on Saturday on the regular scheduled podcast. But Randy Orton is the only one that's made anything public about this. If you haven't seen the pay-per-view, go check it out. It was a very good segment between him and Chris Jericho. Randy Orton returning back to the WWE after he's been gone for the last 9 months because of a shoulder injury. It was a great thing. I clapped. I applauded him for coming out and saying this about Brock Lesnar. And of course, he's going to pay for it because Brock Lesnar, that's the MO for him. And this is now. Really, Randy has forced his hand on Brock, saying, "You need to talk about this. Why did you do it? What made you do this? Are you going to be juicing? Are you going to be juicing when you're in the ring? And if you are, you should be suspended." And honestly, I think he should. Yes, Brock is a part-time wrestler. I know, I understand, and a lot of people are going to be saying, "Oh, he's only a part-time wrestler. It doesn't really matter. It's not even a real sport." No, that's not the point. If you're going to suspend Roman Reigns for that, then the same needs to be applied to Brock Lesnar. And at that, Brock Lesnar should know better. He's a veteran. He's a former champion himself. He should know this. He's been in the WWE. He's been in the WWE ever since 2002. He should know better. He knows. He knows not to be using that kind of stuff. He's a former NCAA champion for the University of Minnesota. He also was training to be in the NFL, which that didn't last for very long. I think he was only on the practice. I think he got to the point. I think he was on the practice squad there, and then they really cut him there. So he's been in sports all his life. Again, the risk when you take that stuff. If you don't get caught now, okay, fine. You didn't get caught this time. Okay, you used it the second time. You used it the third time. Regardless of how many times you're gonna use it, you will get caught. And to me, you should be punished. You should be banned from playing that sport for X amount of days. Or suspended or whatever. I'm sorry, but WWE, you have to recognize this. You have to say something about this. Yes, is he a part-time wrestler? Yes, he is. But at the same time, he should be. If you're going to treat Roman Reigns in that stint, in that kind of way, you need to do the same to your veteran superstars. Because what kind of leadership are you showing there in the locker room? Oh, well, if I'm only a part-time guy or a veteran, hey, I can do whatever I want. But if I'm one of the guys that are like Zack Ryder or something like that, I get caught with that. Well, fuck, I got to sit out for 30 days. And to me, I'm sorry, rules are rules. The rules should apply to everyone. If you get caught with it, you're going to be sitting out. You're going to pay. You're going to be punished for it. And he should. I don't care. I know you guys. Some of you guys are Brock Lesnar fanboys and whatever. That's all right, whatever. But you know what? You get caught with it, you should be punished. And of course, we just recently Peyton Manning just was in the news here as of late. And I actually had someone that came up to me who actually listened to the show and said, "Rashad, what do you think about Peyton Manning and his drug? If he's part of it?" And I think, as far as I know, I think he's still being investigated for it. If it's shown that if he used, well, you know what? He should have been suspended. But at the time when this was all going, this was just rumors, accusations, all that type of stuff. There was no physical evidence. But if he is, then yeah, you can't do nothing. NFL, you can't do nothing to him. What can you do? He's already retired. Now, should he be shamed by the public and be scrutinized and everything? Oh, hell yes. I'll be the first ones right there. Shaking my head like, Peyton, shame on you. Shame on you. And just like here, if he gets caught, I'd be the first one coming out on this podcast telling you, man, I'm very disappointed. It sickens me that he's in a position he put himself in a position like that. What is this going to ruin his career, ruin his chances in going to the Hall of Fame? Oh, hell yes. You put all those numbers up and you did all that stuff, and at the same time you let a little fucking vial of HGH in your system. That is right there. That little vial stops you from getting being in the Hall of Fame and being. Don't get me wrong. He is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, in the top 5. But you let a little vial of HGH stop you from being on the Hall of Fame He has what until what? Yeah, you have to wait 5 years to get in there. So it'll be 2020 or 2020, 2022, something like that. Somewhere, I don't know. I don't know, something like that. Seriously, you're gonna let that happen? You just, to me, you ruined your damn career. You should be ashamed of yourself. And like I said, that goes for everyone that gets caught with that. I don't care who you are. Am I going to be disappointed? Oh, hell yes, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm going to be just sick in you. I'm going to treat you just like everyone else. Like how I'm talking about Brock Lesnar right now, I'd say the same thing about Peyton Manning. It just sickens me that guys go out there and do that kind of stuff. And you got good, I know people who have trained to want to get the opportunity to go play in an NFL or Major League Baseball or basketball or whatever, and they're just shy because they don't have the hype. They're just shy of getting to that next level, and they can't do it because, oh, well, sorry, you don't have the height, you don't have the weight, you're too small, you're not quick enough. And it's just like, wow, but yeah, you're going to give it to the guy that's over here, putting something up his ass, to get that advancement there. And realize that stuff is only going to last for so long. It's not a miracle. It's not a miracle drug that you're going to keep your career forever. Because if anything, it's going to take you away from you. That's going to take your career away from you. It's going to keep you, instead of playing a sport for 10 to 15 years. Because the minimum is about 5 years you play a sport before you have to retire because of injury or whatever. But if you're one of those ones that got something, that it factor to you, and you play beyond 5 years, that's something special. You're a special, unique player. But you're using those drugs to help you out in your career. Oh, trust me, your career is going to come down crashing real quick. As quick as you got there, it's going to bring you down just as fast. But yeah, there's a link down there below there, in this description there about Brock Lesnar and Jon Jones there. And Jon Jones is one of my favorite UFC fighters. I don't follow the UFC as much, but there's a couple fighters I do follow, and he's one of the ones that that I really, really admire and look up to. Him and Rashad Evans. And I'm trying to think. There's a couple others, and that's who I got left now. Is Rashad Evans. I'm like, man, please, man, I love you because you got you got the same first name as I do, but at the same time, dude, don't do it. Don't use anything. Please don't use anything. You're my last hope of UFC. And of course, I guess you CM Punk, but we'll see how we'll he's got his first fight here coming up, so we'll see how that goes. But it's just like, oh man, here you are, man, trying to make this big splash back in UFC, and then this happens. Or, you've got this match coming up with Randy Orton. Okay, you're not so much the beast. Yeah, you're the beast when you have that juice inside you. Without it, you're just a little old puppy. So, I know I got probably people down below in the comment section making a bunch of comments, but I don't care. I mean, you're juicing. Hey, that's on you. I have no respect for you at all. Your credibility for me is shot. It's complete. I just can't take you seriously anymore. Especially like with Brock Lesnar. I just chuckle now. I'm like, and there are gonna be fans out there that are not Brock, and there are a lot of people that are like me that don't care for Brock Lesnar coming back into WWE at all, and they're gonna be giving him a rough ass time. And it's not to mention, I just sitting there thinking, marketing wise, oh my god, WWE, you just put Brock Lesnar as cover boy of the WWE 2K17 game. Now we're gonna be calling that the Roid game. If there's a bad glitch or something, PEDs, got too many PEDs. PD DLC edition. I'm telling you, there's gonna be jokes. There's gonna be memes about this coming up here in the next couple. We'll hear that because I think it's next week they're gonna release the names of the superstars that are gonna be in the game. Every Tuesday they're gonna release like 25 names of superstars that are gonna be a part of the game. And I'm telling you, there's going to be jokes about this for the next couple of months. And that game doesn't come out until October. So there's going to be plenty of memes out there about this, about him. And especially a month from now, we got SummerSlam. So, I don't know. All right, well, that is it for this week, you guys. I'm getting off my soapbox now. So we're getting to that point here. And that's it for this week. But yeah, all the stories that we've. Oh yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and. Should I talk about this or not? Yeah. Well, let's get into some. Before we go. Let's get into the last story here. This one's very interesting. I can't hold this one back because this one's just. I'm just like, are you serious? This one's even worse than the Brock Lesnar story. All right. Recently here, according to the New York Times, there's an article and there's a link down there below you guys can read. Actually, there's a link that you can go to the article and read about it. But the New York Times recently reported that here or there in Rio, there's more trouble ahead. Of course, there's been the Zika virus that's been going on. We've actually had a couple cases here locally. A lady locally had Zika. There was a Zika issue with her child. She just had her child here, and the baby, as far as I know, is doing well, but it was having some trouble. And of course, it'll be run tests on that child and on her. But that's going on down there. You got crime, which is always an issue there in Rio. Tourist season, they're in the midst of tourism season right now, especially with the Olympics coming up. You have sanitation issues. You got water because there was a recent, I can't remember if I talked about this or not, but I know it was on, either on one of the big three networks. They were talking about some of the issues of sanitation, the water supply. Where the road team, the Olympic road team, I think them and a couple others are either up in the air about coming down there and being part of the games, or they're not going to come at all. I know a couple of European teams said they were not going to be there at all. Not to mention, I just now recently remember I should type this up on my notes here on my computer here, but it was just recently released that quite a few Russian athletes will not be going to Rio because of PEDs. And Vladimir Putin is really upset about this. He says that basically it's an Americans are screwing the Russian team over. So there we go on that note. Man, I'm just I'm just like, wow. A couple Russian, I think, runners and a couple of other track and field stars have been in trouble for PEDs. And the Olympic Committee has says, you know what? If that's going on, you're not invited. And they're not. They're not going to be showing up because of that. So we got that. And I'll try to see if I can find an article and let you guys know more about that. That just recently happened here in the last day or two. And I'll try to maybe cover that on Saturday's episode of the show. But the trouble that they're having right now in Rio is in the Olympic Park. They're at the Olympic Village where the athletes stay at. All nations have these apartments that the athletes stay in. It's kind of a big community thing. Recently, when I went to Atlanta, I went to the Olympic Village there, where a lot of these buildings now have been turned to offices and stuff like that. But a lot of the athletes, that's where the athletes stay at. They have food and all that's provided to them, and it gets them to being comfortable and just kind of be around other people and get to know others from around the world. But there in Rio, it was recently found out by an Australian team that the Australian team went to their room and seen how the rooms were just poorly designed and poorly maintenance, and there was exposed wire. There were paint was chipping. Basically, everything was half-ass. Excuse my language. Everything was just half-ass in there. And the Australian team told the Olympic Committee about this and said, "What are you going to do about this?" And of course, they said, "Well, we can't do much because we got about a month here to the Olympics. We'll try to fix this as best as we can." And the Australian team said, "No, that's not good enough. That is not good enough at all. You just, this is poor conditions. This is not what we signed up for. Here we are half a world away, and we're somewhere we've never been before, and you're gonna do this. These are supposed to be nice, comfortable rooms and buildings for us to be feel safe. Safety is one, and that's another thing that's on the thing about got safety issues, security. This is not good enough." So the Australian team, or at least I can't remember if it was the whole Australian team or part of the Australian, but they had decided to not show up for the Olympics. No joke. Now I think I said this in a couple episodes ago. We already had several American athletes say they're not going to Rio this year mainly because of the Zika virus. And then all the other issues, the sanitation issues, and now Olympic Park and the possible terrorist issues, because there's been some reports of some high active terrorism, according to the Homeland Security and stuff. They say that there's some high the probability of some terrorism from ISIS is pretty high, and that's scaring off a lot of people wanting to go to the Olympics. A lot of athletes going to the Olympic Games, which is making a lot of people who are this is their summer vacation going down there. This is making a lot of people think otherwise for the Olympic Games. So literally from the very day that the Rio learned that they were going to be having the Olympics, it's just been a shit fire. I mean, they were behind schedule there for a while, building the arena, building the the main concourses and stuff like that for the Olympics. Just several years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's just like, wow, like this is bad. Like, Rio, what the hell? They've had all these issues with safety, police, corruption. What else? I mean, there's just a long laundry list of things that have just been going so wrong for these guys. And I feel so bad for the people of Rio who are so excited about having this down there, because, they just recently had the FIFA tournament there, and that turned out to be somewhat successful. There was not too many issues or whatever. But now the Olympics are coming up here, and it just seemed like every single week there's something bad going on, and there's just a lot of people saying that they do not want to go down there. I believe Bob Costas, I think he even said that he was seriously thinking about not going to the games this year, and he's part of the NBC crew that's going to be down there for those 2 weeks there, and it's making a lot of people skittish. Like, this is just not the place to be. I don't know. What do you guys think about it? Are you guys looking forward to the Olympics? I am. I'm always looking forward to the Olympics, both summer and winter games. Not to mention that it's just not the Olympics that are going to be down there. There's the Paralympics. The Special Olympics are going to be also down there too during this time. So, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of millions of people down there. and you got all these issues going on. This is not good. I mean, especially when it comes to health and safety. I mean, this is not good at all, and this could be potentially a bad financially. This could be hurt Rio for several years if they do not do a good job of hosting these games. So, but like I said, I'll have more about the Russians coming up there on the regular Saturday episode of the Sports Gamer podcast. So, but yeah, you guys can read the article down below. It's a really interesting article. It's a quick article you guys can read about the trouble about the Olympic Rio Village. It just exposed wire, bad plumbing, foundation is cracking. So yeah, I mean really they just threw these buildings. It seemed like they just built these buildings overnight and just said, okay, let's go to the next one. It's like there needs to be some work into this. Like, we got to make sure this is a sound building. We got to make sure it's good. We got to make sure there's no exposed wire. There's no bad plumbing. Because we were going to have several hundred, maybe 1,000 or more athletes here, coaches, trainers, all that there. We cannot, we just can't, makeshift something and just hope it stays up for the next 2 weeks. It's for that time period that they're here. It doesn't work that way. So, but yeah, that will. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm so tired. But yeah, we'll cover more of those issues here on the channel as the Summer Olympics go on. So, I mean, Rio just clusterfuck. Excuse me my language, but it is just a clusterfuck. All right, so but yeah, this will actually end the show this week. Like I said, I apologize. We're gonna try to work on this. Schedule wise, my schedule's gonna be all hectic here coming up because I got the going back to work. Work on the Chiefs camp. Kansas City Chiefs gonna be in town and gonna be doing that. So I'm gonna try to get this podcast out as much as possible. But yeah, we'll just see where that goes from there. So thank you guys so much for listening and checking out the channel. Just stay tuned for more videos here on the channel as usual. I got plenty of baseball. We got some. We got Green Bay Packers franchise. It's getting close to wrapping up the second season of that. We're starting the second season, we're wrapping up the second season of the Green Bay Packers franchise. We're starting the second season of Matt Marvel, his connected careers, and of course you got baseball all summer long. And so not to mention I'm trying to get some wrestling on the channel for you guys. So yeah, we'll get to that here eventually, sometimes here soon. Of course, Madden 17 is going to be coming out here, and I got to try to decide who I'm going to be playing as this year in the franchise mode there. So, but thank you guys for watching. You guys can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. The links are down below as always in the comments section. And again, check out those articles. There are some pretty good reads here this week about what's been going on here in the sports world. Hopefully, some of the stuff will be common sense to some, and not so to some others. So, but that is it for me, you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out the podcast this week. We'll be back on the regular schedule as usual on Saturday evening at 6:00. Here on ESGNet. So thank you guys so much for watching. As always, keep yourselves healthy, and I will see you guys next time.